The Gala is now in session. Everybody can take your seat. Take your seats. All nights, take your seat. Okay, this may seem a little weird, but nights of Peter Claver is basically nights. Most of us are predominantly Black, Catholic. So this gala was started because we didn't have anyone to represent people of color, especially Black men. Now, look around. All right, you can tell this is pretty much a closed, select group of people that are invited. So, there's a reason for that. Because, like most fraternal orders, some people think you do a lot of things in secret. You do not do a whole lot of things in secret. You celebrate in secret somewhat, but you'll be in our website for a lifetime. So, that's why it's done this way, because we want to honor those for a lifetime. And I will be giving information about each one, how you were picked, why you were picked. Because if I'm going to introduce myself, my name is Edward Marsh. I was baptized here, and I am one of the first and only knights that got started. So we got started because ladies wanted to get started. For the first 100 years or so, they had no Black knights. So we had to break that barrier. So now our ladies can have an auxiliary. So it was very historical. We have the Catholic Herald here. So most people don't know that we have a large Catholic faith here in Charlotte that is very diverse. Now they do know that. You're going to start seeing us more involved in Charlotte Post, Charlotte Observer. We cover 95 churches. This is our anniversary for 1 year. So our first year, we'll probably you'll start seeing us in the community more. You'll start seeing us as equal to any Black fraternity in this area. So you got to figure, we cover 95 churches, go from Greensboro to Asheville, all the way down to Rockland. That's a large area. We only have currently 14 members. They were pre-selected for various reasons. So I'm going to start with Dr. Joyce Whitehead. Okay. I know Dr. Joyce Whitehead for a very long time. Very long time. That's when I was the early farmer. Most people you don't know, I was on television. Yes, I was on TV and radio. And she was the first person to put me on her television show in Access 21. So during that period of time, she was one of my mentors. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she has done. Not only in the state senate, because she has some policies coming up. And I'm going to recognize her with our Public Citizen Award. Last year was Pat Cotton, she just had cancer. So you come up because there's some policies here that I know you want to talk about. So come on up here.
Saying that this is necessary. Nobody's just having an abortion. housing immigrants in the jail and having our sheriffs take care of them until they come to trial. And we listen to people in the community. Every vote that I take, I have asked the people who are in Georgia, is this the direction that you want me to go in? This is how you want me to vote. Give me your talking points, give me your reasons. So when I stand up on the floor, I can say, these are the people that I represent. And these are the things that they do. So we're dealing with a lot of issues. Teacher pays money that I often champion every time. Teachers just don't get enough money. We need to pay them well so that they'll go to South Carolina, Georgia, and other states, and they can stay in North Carolina. Teacher is not just a job. It's a vocation. It's a place where we make a living. And recently, when they see me coming, they say, you're going to be talking about retiring. Because we know that people, when they retire, they got to live. They got to have money like everybody else. And many of our retirees who retired from education, that means that some of them state employees, General Assembly employees, policemen, work with the highway patrol, prison system, they got to have money to live. And so we have to always increase because everything goes up. The funding. You don't want to keep talking. Let me talk about him. We worked together. I had a lot, a building lot on McDonald Street. And he said, this would be good for this community, for us to build a garden. I said, well, I'll just donate this lot, and I will help you to build this garden. He got out there, he had a grant, he got plants, he put out there, thinking about that community, thinking about teach people in a community how to grow, how to eat, and how to eat healthy. Not only that, we went to various, I traveled with him to various schools, looking at gardens. Yes. You say you remember us. And then we got it so bad we got on television a couple of times to talk about this is the garden, this is what you do. And it got a lot of press, a lot of people called and asked about it, and they wanted to be involved. So it's really about Mr. Marsh and the things that he's done. So I want to thank you so much. I'm honored, and I feel very blessed that you've chosen me. I've served in the North Carolina General Assembly for 10 years. And before that, I served 6 years Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education. So I consider myself a public servant, and I want to thank you so much for all that you've done.
This award tonight, so people plan to give Senator Joyce Waddell Public Citizen of the Year. There you go. Thank you. So we're going to start with food. Start with table one. And I think Ms. Almeida. We're going to do a showcase right quick before we go on to our next person. What was she saying about the? Don't throw the napkin holders in the garbage. So we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our little showcase, and then we're going to start with Mr. Graham. If these young people can come up here right quick. Table 1 and 2 can come up. But I want the young people to come up and tell me. We are celebrating entrepreneurship among young people, and we always want to inspire our young people. So this is one of the things that we showcase our young people doing things in the community. I remember she had great stuff. She's grown, so.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi. My name is Paulette Pennington. I'm 15, and I'm going to be a sophomore this year.
my name is Christopher. I'm 13 and I'm going to the 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Holland. I'm 9 and I'm going to the 4th grade.
We are CMOS Boss.
Me and my siblings have been promoting CMOS for 4 years now, and our main focus is to make sure a lot of people are getting health and wellness, and so people don't really die of old age because they don't really take care of what they eat.
Okay, is anybody familiar with CMOS? Well, for those who don't know, CMOS is a great health beneficial thing that comes from the ocean. It contains a lot of minerals and it's kind of like seaweed, but it's all natural and it's very good for you. People use it in a lot of ways, like to support a healthy heart, support digestive system, weight control, skin, hair, nails. It's good for people who are pregnant or just got out of pregnancy, or people that sometimes can struggle with getting out of bed because it also helps with energy. But we sell it in many forms. We do lemonades like how we do now. These are some of our best sellers. We have many flavors. We do freeze-dried sea moss, which is basically 2 tablespoons, and it's kind of like a pill. But we also do sea moss soap, sea moss gels, and like Holland said, we've been doing this for 4 years now. This was a business that our parents helped set us up with, and one of our main goals, like he said, is to spread health and wellness because lots of people need sea moss, and yeah.
So also one more fun fact is that before we did lemonades, we also did smoothies, but about 2 years ago, we came up with the idea to start lemonades, and we've been doing it ever since. We have 7 flavors of our lemonades, and we like to have a nickname for it, and it's called the Signature 7. And we also like to do content creation on multiple platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and we try to upload twice a week. And so I would say we also do pop-up events because we like to go out and help people. We like trying to get our name out there and making sure everybody gets a childhood.
And that is all. Thank you for your time.
So real quick, I can take credit. These are my little people. They look just like me. I'm about the size of a 10-year-old myself. But I am their mom, and the one thing that they failed to mention was that they brought 5 of their 7 flavors of lemonade with them. We're going to leave them here for you to sample. He's going to let you know how to do that, but I just wanted to let you know that they are here. They'll be labeled so that you'll know what flavor it is and what ingredients they are. Everything is all natural, vegan. There's no preservatives of anything. Also, we do not sweeten our lemonade with sugar. We sweeten it with agave, which is more diabetic friendly than just regular sugar. So we'll have those on the table. We'll have sample cups, and we have plain lemonade or regular. We have our Arnold Palmer, which is half iced tea, half lemonade, blueberry, pineapple ginger, and our orange mango. And you're more than welcome to sample, and we ask for any feedback. Our contact information will be on the box.
And we also have a website, and it's on our cmosbossclt.com. Muchas gracias.
Hand up. What I also want to mention is she's the photo booth lady. She also does photo booth for different events and stuff. So she didn't want to cross promotion. Yeah, but I did. All right, so our next person that's coming up is Dr. Patrick Graham. Before you stand up, I need to say a couple things. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi. All right. Mr. Graham has done a lot for our community. Dr. Graham. He used to be with the Urban League. I can't count how many times people have came up to me and mentioned your name. He used to be a friend of someone who used to hold very dear, Steve Claver. When Steve passed, he got on his Facebook page, and you got your colonoscopy. Remember that? So, one of the things was, we lost a giant, most people, and he was a Peter Claver Knight. We honored him last year, he's gone. So, and he pledged, the last thing we did was pledge to make this up. Okay. If you can come up and talk about what you do, which is very remarkable now in the community of Harris County.
First, I want to thank the Knights. I obviously want to thank God. And thank you all for being here. To my young people with CMOS, I know you mentioned that you could help with nails and also hair. So if I were to rub that on my head, would my afro grow back? No? Yeah? Maybe? So let me just say this. I want to also acknowledge everyone here who's being awarded this evening, because the black voice is a voice that can never be replaced in this country. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about my journey really quick. When I was president of the Urban League, well, I'll start here. When I first came to Charlotte, I had just come from being the CEO of the Martin Luther King Center on Long Island. And I joined the Place Crisis Assistance Ministry, which is right down the street from here. And the first job here was to combine the county and city's emergency assistance programs with crisis. And then I went on to the Urban League. In the Urban League, I started, which was our first national certification-focused programs for any workforce nonprofit in this city. And we even started a bank that lent over $6 million to black businesses. But there's something else that we did, is that we created something called the State of Epic Charlotte. It was a book that actually predicted the economic mobility issue in Charlotte 3 years before the economic mobility study came out. The reason, though, that people didn't hear it is because it came from black people, local black people. In other words, they needed to hear it from someone else to believe. When I joined Charlotte Works, and we started an initiative called Careers for All, which actually went deep into segregated communities to provide services for workforce development. Instead of making them always cross the tracks, we cross the tracks to them. All of those things are important, because what it means is that when you do have black voices in the room, innovation can also be part of that process. But we often don't get to hear those voices. So now I am actually I still live in Mecklenburg County, but I work for an organization as the CEO of We Build Concord, which has now, over the last 2 years, become the largest affordable housing developer in that county. And what we do there is we build homes, 70% of them for ownership. 76% of our contractors are people people. And along with that, over 90% of our new homeowners are also black. So when you actually allow the black voice to come in the room, and the black mind and intellect to come there, we can find ways and solutions to build and develop our communities that make it better for everyone. And so I'm glad that the nights now will be expanding, and I'm proud to actually be part of a new beginning with you all tonight, along with these honorees who I admire, and again, I thank you.
Ms. Ward, would like to honor the first lady up here. We're going to have a member come up and bless the food because we're ready to eat. You do know that we're finna throw down right after we eat, right? Willie Walker's here. So, if you come on up, this is Mr. Rose, and Mr. Rose will give us a prayer to nourish our body.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Father God, for this day that you have given us. And we lift our hands, our hearts, our souls, our mind, and all of our strength in praise for all that you've done for us. And we are thankful for the privilege, the opportunity, and the pleasure to have this gala affair. And we also thank you for the food that nourishes our body. And we say, bless us, O Lord, and these and all of thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy mountain through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Our guests are being served, but after they are served, 1 and 2 will be coming up to get something to eat. So we finna get this thing on and popping. So our next guest is Mr. Walter Hand. Before he gets up here, I want to tell you a little bit about Mr. Hand. I am a member of American Legion. I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran too. So I got that tag that you see in the handicap spot. But, you know, that's 2 neck operations, so just so you know. Mr. Hand was someone that doesn't seek recognition. He just makes it available for other people to accept. We had to change our award for him. He got our Veteran Award, but he's a pioneer. He's the first black man to be a police officer in Belmont. Now I'm gonna tell you something. I get a little misty-eyed when I talk about it, but it's a reason for that. He will tell you he could not pull over a person that was not, in the best words I can, you couldn't be white and pull you over from the fence. I want you to think about that for a minute. He had to call somebody. And then he had to say, well, I don't think that's appropriate. We might let him walk away. Now you think about our jail system today, our criminal justice system today. Think how many black officers, what they had to go through, so you have a representation in that position. So, I can't even imagine the scrutiny that he had to go through to open doors for other police officers. Period. I can't even imagine that. And for him, you know, he didn't, you know, and we're around at American Legion, and Chaplain plays cards with him. His first cousin, if I'm not mistaken, he's the same person. Humble. No, not angry at all. And you have some people that don't know what that means to bite your tongue in order to put food on the table of your family. That's what he had to do. So Mr. Hand, if you could come up here, and I want you to tell some stories about what it took for you to not only succeed, but to be successful as a police officer during that time. Because I think some of the things you're gonna make your mouth dry. Mr. Hand, please.
Thank you. Thank you. It was for me. It really was. And had it not been for that wife of mine, I would have executed. But she told me, she said, somebody has to break the ice, and you do it. The first I want to thank was Wardell. I worked with her husband in his lifetime to get a football field at Olympic High School. Then she tells me tonight that she remembered me, she and I did some modeling together when I was also in modeling and acting and so forth. But 1965, that's when I went on the police force. And at that time, a black police officer could not arrest a white person. That changed when I went on the force. I was the first to arrest a white person in Mecklenburg and Gaston County and possibly South Carolina or North Carolina. And then, and some of the language that they would use on me, I'm not going to dare use it. But it got where it was a regular thing. But like I said, my wife, she stood beside me. And I had two other gentlemen who helped me out a lot. Most of you have heard of Julius Chambers. A lot of you have heard of Dr. Reginald Hawkins. Those were the two men that I would go and talk with when I was on the force. But my wife went through a whole lot because every night she was getting calls about something that was going to take place with me. And so, but they didn't know that there was an FBI agent who was looking at me, after me, told my wife, don't worry, because the calls that you were getting was coming from the police department. So I said, that's a heck of a thing to really think about. But what they didn't know and what I didn't know until I retired from the police department is that I had two uncles that was patrolling every night with a shotgun in the back seat. As I was riding along, they were looking out for me too, which I didn't know that because if I hadn't, I'd locked them up. You know? but that was it. So, and I appreciate you recognizing me for this award because I can say I don't look for awards. I just had a job to do, and I did it. But the way I arrested the first person of color, of non-color, was that the mayor of Belmont, they hired me one day, I quit the next. I told them I wasn't going to do it. Well, the mayor comes to Memphis, told the chief, he's going to arrest anybody that breaks the law. So that broke the ice right there. And it was good. And I was also the first black fireman in Belmont. So when I wasn't policing, I was putting out fire. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
We can walk the hand, the military veteran pioneer award.
Okay, so moving right along. I guess you understand now why we were formed. No stories need to be told. We're going to be about 400, 500, 600 black men across the state doing our thing. So just be prepared to see more of us doing this, telling these stories, because people need to hear it. People need to hear it. So I'm going to call, we're going to do the award for Mr. Wetman. All right? But we have a judge to do the talking. And Keith Smith, he's going to come up, say a few words, and then we're going to keep moving. This is going to be good. If you haven't ever heard them in this type of arena or this type of event, I think you're going to enjoy it. And just realize, even though this is being live streamed at the Our Lady Catholic, Our Lady Consolation Church, people are going to see this because it's going to be on our website for years to come, and people are going to understand what it means and what we do. If you come up here, Judge Keith Smith.
Thank you, and good evening. It's indeed an honor to have this opportunity, and I must once again congratulate all these amazing award winners. He said, Brother Mars said, expect something exciting. Well, I'm not going to be exciting. I had the fortune of being able to read the bio of the Honorable Spencer Merriweather, who is a phenomenal individual in the area of justice. And as we know, this organization is based upon social justice. So just a few things about the Honorable Spencer Merriweather. Testing my reading skills. Mr. Merriweather was appointed by Honorable Governor Roy Cooper in 2017, and he was elected full terms in 2018 and 2022. Something that's really historical, and I really appreciate Mr. Hand, his story about Belmont. We know that history is challenging. I'm from the big city of Shawneeville, North Carolina, so I can relate. I'm sure you went through a lot of things there. Mr. Merriweather is the first African-American district attorney in Mecklenburg County, so I think he deserves a round of applause for that. Something that's really substantial about that is oftentimes, as a former prosecutor in Rowan County myself, I think sometimes we look at individuals who are prosecutors as the enemy of the people. The reality is prosecutors are the keepers of justice. You need individuals who are committed to justice on that side of the law. Otherwise, there are things that will slip through the cracks. We need individuals that are going to protect our citizens' rights. And one of the things that Mr. Merriweather was very involved in and still very involved in is prosecuting cases ranging from sexual assault and domestic violence crimes to drug trafficking and homicides. And since he's taken office, he's really emphasized victim-centered responses to domestic, sexual, and child violence. He's also worked on expanding access to restorative justice. In court, I actually see this in action every day with his district attorneys offering individuals second chances. That's something that oftentimes in a number of counties throughout the state of North Carolina, as well as throughout the country, people are not provided with those opportunities. So once again, he deserves a round of applause for that effort. In terms of background, the Honorable Spencer Merriweather graduated from Princeton University, which is phenomenal. He's also a law school graduate of UNC Chapel Hill. He served as an assistant district attorney for more than 10 years in Mecklenburg County prior to assuming the role as the district attorney. He will also be taking the helm as the board chair for the Association of Prosecuting Attorneys in the fall of 2024. He's an active member of the National Association of Black Prosecutors. He's also a past president of the Mecklenburg County Bar Foundation. So without further ado, Mr. Marsh, I will turn the floor back over to Mr. Marsh once again, Mecklenburg County is in great hands with the Honorable Spencer Merriweather. And I often joke with him, I think I see him as the Attorney General of North Carolina.
He's mentioned that a couple times when we first met. That's what he told me. Before we get started, I'm gonna pick at him for a minute. This is gonna be at one of our new nights, just so you know. So he will be a Knights of Peter Claver. He goes to St. Peter's downtown. Most people don't know he's Catholic. Okay? I've already talked to the priest there. He's already said he's on board to have a Knights of Peter Claver. Now, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag now. I do have a meeting with the bishop June 18th. Okay? Now, that's a one-on-one meeting. So, we got to initiate the bishop. So, one of the things is we have our national convention coming up in Oklahoma. Yes, I got it from Alabama. Yeah, I actually got back from Jackson, Mississippi. But one thing that people don't realize, this is a national organization. National. And for 100 so years, they've been trying to get a Claver. So if you look at some of the men that have went through being a knight, it'll blow your mind. We have bishops, cardinals, we go to see the Pope just like everybody else. So with him coming to be a knight, helping us get St. Peter's in that area established, you couldn't have a finer person to do it. Let's go ahead and get this, let's go ahead and let's hear you give your spiel because you're going to be very impressed. He's actually, his family's from Alabama, right? So that's where Peter Claver started. All right, so let's, without further ado, the district attorney, Spencer.
Hi, Marcia, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. It's always a pleasure to be in the house of God. I will tell you that my wife and child would be here except for the fact that my father-in-law is recovering from a hip surgery that he had earlier in the week. But obviously, even in their absence, it's with their support that I'm here, with the support of my parents that I'm here, and obviously with the support of Almighty God that I'm here. I want to thank you first for bestowing upon me this law enforcement award, and I want to thank you for a few reasons. The first reason is that your description or understanding of law enforcement is expansive. A lot of people don't think about prosecutors when they think about law enforcement. It's because police and sheriffs are in fact the tip of the law enforcement spear. Prosecutors are a little bit different. I like to say that we often are the stamp, seal, and scissors of the public conscience. That a lot of times the work of law enforcement is based on impulse, it's based on intuition. The work of prosecutor is to be held accountable to the value of equal justice under the law. That is slow work. That is deliberate work. That is work that takes time. The truth is that when we think about the work of a prosecutor, we are deliberate. We are thoughtful, even when you want to make sure that you are exercising power and authority using the gravity of punishment. You must check yourself and make sure that instead maybe you should be using another type of power, which is the execution of mercy. It is the everyday challenge of the prosecutor to make sure that you are balancing those two things. Your expectation of what a prosecutor does is exactly that. To try to find the perfect balance of society's best virtues And it's funny because we deal in human affairs, and there is absolutely nothing that is perfectly balanced about human beings. And yet we still forge ahead. We still try to find this balance of making sure that we have accountability and that we have mercy, because we know that we as human beings are deserving of that, and we need that in our everyday life. Like law enforcement, prosecutors are confronted with some really awful things. That we are often seeing the worst about our society, the worst of human life. That we are often confronted with the most malignant acts of man. Those things we often find are motivated by economic and social desperation, by a systemic history of political disenfranchisement. And anyone with a social conscience would take the time to realize that that has to be a part of the equation that the good prosecutor takes into account. I am motivated by my faith. That is the reason that I'm here. That is the reason that I find this work. It's the only reason that I can lay head to pillow every night and feel good about what it is that I do, because the Lord has armed me with a sense of discernment in my work. But that's not about what I do, that is about what a higher power has breathed into me to allow me to do. That was the cross that I was asked to bear, and I bear it on your behalf. The truth is, I don't get it right every day. Quite frankly, I might not get it right most days. But I can have some faith that, again, I have taken to bear that cross that has been assigned to me. And so it is with gratitude that I accept this acknowledgement from you. And that's not the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about tonight, because you messed up and gave the lawyer a mic. You did mention that I'm from Alabama. This award is, to receive this from the Knights is especially important and significant to me. Because I'm dad. My dad is 86 years old, and on this very night, he is residing and receiving nursing care in a place that bears the name of Bishop Edward Allen. In September of 1909, Bishop Allen found himself presiding over a ceremony at Most Pure Heart of Mary Church in Mobile, Alabama, which is my city of birth. That church is actually on my father's paper route. It was at that church and at that ceremony that Bishop Allen presided over the initiation of the inaugural Knights of St. Peter Claver. So this organization has always been sort of in my collective view, something that has been special to me. I don't know if all of you grew up with it, but I remember seeing and going and attending midnight mass. I wasn't a cradle Catholic, but attending midnight mass on Christmas Day, and I would see the Knights of Columbus, but then I would see the Knights of St. Peter Claver, and one of them looked like me and one of them didn't. And when I would see the chapeau and the plume of the Knights of St. Peter Claver look a little bit brighter, my back was a little bit straighter because of seeing them. It was akin, and I hate to compare things to sports, but it's almost akin to seeing Coach John Thompson walk onto the basketball floor with 12 young black men, and all of a sudden becoming the most identifiable Catholics in America. That was what it was like seeing the Knights of St. Peter Claver representing my identity. So that's why it's a special pleasure to be with you, representing a heritage and representing both my faith as well as my cultural tradition. It is extraordinarily meaningful to me, and I promise you that my commitment to you, the way in which I show gratitude, is to try to do good work in all of the endeavors that I have in the courthouse and beyond. My commitment to you is to make sure that I approach this job with humility, and to make sure that at every single day, every single person I interact with, that I am doing and seeing the image of God in every person that I interact with, and that in every decision that I make, every word that I write, that I think about your protection, the protection of God, that I think about God's peace, and I think about the best way to carry out God's will. Thank you guys so much.
Those of you that may know about the Charlotte Post, Mr. Gerald Johnson, I'm going to kind of give you a little background of my relationship. He was in the same building as my aunt, Ms. Leola Marsh. My family used to own a couple strips, but that's where he pretty much got started. 40 years in the business, 40, telling our story when nobody else would. 40 years. And he just lost his brother last week. They started that. And I said to him when we were on the phone, I understand you can't make it, but if you do, we're gonna make it worth your while. We're gonna feed you, we're gonna party, and we're gonna hold you up. So, I want him to tell the story of how he got started, because I think people don't realize when you're the first breaking ground, it's a lot of pain. When I first got in the military, I can tell the story. I already had my college degree and all that, but I wanted to work on planes. So I was the oldest person there, one of the oldest. I thought I broke the record. Boy, they couldn't stand me. But I understood something I wanted to do. Now they can't get, now they can move the age up. I thought I was doing something. They taking people up to 39 years old in the Air Force. And they're trying to push you up to 43. So, Mr. Johnson, please come up here and tell us the beginning, how you got started, and how his family called up there. It's a family business. That's rare nowadays. Generation, he's talking about generational wealth. What about generational business? If you could, sir.
I appreciate this. I am honored to look at this movie picture. Great stories. This is great to have black news actually live, living color on stage. So I'm proud to be a part of that organization and getting an award with those individuals on the dais. I'm also proud of getting the award that Steve Crump got last year, because Steve was a very influential person with me in terms of his documentaries. He was one of the great documentarians that I've ever known, and so I love that about him. But let me talk a little about the Charlotte Post and my entry into it. My father bought the Charlotte Post in 1974. We're 50 years old this year, not 40, 50. But, and this was his love. He wanted to be in the newspaper business. The first black postman in Charlotte, North Carolina. actually the first person to ever write for a white newspaper, the Charlotte News at the time. If y'all old enough, there were two newspapers in Charlotte, the Charlotte Post, the Charlotte Observer, the Charlotte News, two dailies. He was the first black person to write for the Charlotte News. And with that, he wanted to start his own newspaper. He got a job for a young man that had multiple newspapers in the country, well, in the state. And he was a white gentleman that bought the Charlotte Post because the Charlotte Post was printed by this man who printed a lot of newspapers in the county. And when the owner died, who was Dr. Tross at the time, owned the paper. When he died, he had a large print bill with the printer of the paper. And he took the paper from Dr. Tross because his family didn't want to pay the bills that had backed up. Dr. Tross' family sold the newspaper to the white gentleman who actually didn't know anything about black news, didn't know anything about the black community. He was just a printer of the newspaper. He asked my father to come and work for him, and my father did. And that's how we got started in the business owning a newspaper. We didn't own it then, but my father did, with the help of the city, buy the newspaper. And that was in 1974, and that was how we got into the business. I'm gonna tell you how I got into the business, which is a whole different story. I grew up with my father in the newspaper business, and I swore to myself as a young kid, this was not something I was going to do. Very labor intensive. I had to stay up late at night as a kid with my father and other two brothers dealing with this situation. Didn't want to do that, so I said, whatever I do in life, God, please help me understand. This is not one of them. And so I lived up to that promise in the fact that my father called me. I was working for Bank of America, had a nice job at Bank of America. And my father called me in 1986 and asked me to do him a favor. And I said, I got an hour for lunch, make it quick. He said, I want you to come in and run the newspaper for me for 3 months and just take over. I'll be back in 3 months, but the doctors told me that I needed to take some time off because I needed to heal from a sickness. I said no. We had an argument. We argued back and forth. Finally, I looked at my watch. I'm an hour late for going back to work, and I didn't want to argue anymore. So I said, okay, I'll do it. He said, okay, great. I'll be back in 3 months. And I said, okay. And I was walking out the door, and I said, when do you want me to start? This was on a Friday. I said, when do you want me to start? He said, Monday. And so I ended up having to take over the operation the Monday after the Friday. Didn't want to do that, but I did because I had to go back to Bank of America. But I ended up taking over that responsibility that Monday. This was in March of 1986. In June of 1986, he was dead. He had leukemia. My brothers, nor I knew that he had leukemia. He knew he had leukemia. His doctor knew he had leukemia. And I was upset because when he died, I talked to the doctor about this. He was laughing at me, which I didn't think this was funny. But he basically said, your father knew you wouldn't take this job if you knew he was going to die. So he literally suckered you into it. And so I've been doing this since 1986. And the other reason this award was very, the reason I appreciate this award, because it was something that I didn't want to do. Ran into a situation where I realized that my father left me with this responsibility and gave me an opportunity with a newspaper that wasn't doing that great at the time. It was still okay. But he left me with the responsibility of taking care of publication that I didn't want to do but I didn't have to start from the beginning trying to start a business. And this is something I want you all to sort of understand, because when we talk about generational wealth, if you got something that you can pass down to anybody, please do it. Don't let property, don't let anything that you have get away from your family, because that's what generational wealth is. And the only reason that I took this job seriously was because when I realized that I had an opportunity to take a situation that was a start and build from that. And that's pretty much what we've been doing for the last, I guess, 30, 80 years, however long I've been doing this. But, and the doctor, when he called, laughed at me, basically told me that you can make this whatever you want to make it, and you can build generational wealth from it. And basically, he was right. So now we're in the process of going through, I'm getting old too. I know you don't know it, I don't look it. Let me repeat this. I know you don't believe it, but I'm old too. And I'm on my last leg, and we're going through a process now to make sure that this can stay with the family. We got people there now that can move it forward. But at the end of the day, that's one message that I want to leave with you, is that make sure that you pass things down to your family, and do it properly by setting up wills. My brother died without a will. And this is something that I'm going to preach loudly to everybody that I run across. Get a will, please. And the other thing I'm going to you thought Meriwether was going to be long. But the last thing I want to leave with you is this. We're in some very, very serious times. And one of the things that I love about being in the newspaper business and how we handle this is that we tell the truth. We tell factual things, because we get sued if we don't. But there's a lot of things that are being put out in the media now that isn't close to being true. And people are falling for it. And I want you to really realize that our democracy is in danger. And I'm saying a lot of people, when I say this, they don't believe it. Our democracy is in serious trouble right now. And I don't want to be political, but I am. We have a governor that looks like us that is a dangerous, dangerous person. Just remember that. And we got people running for other offices that are very, very dangerous people. And if these people get into office, I can promise you, you won't know the America that you know today. That's a fact. And so at the end of the day, we need to make sure we go to the polls, bring everybody with you that you can to the polls, because we are in very, very dangerous times. And so I'm going to close with that note. Hope to see you at the polls. Start reading the Charlotte Post, and bless you for being here tonight, and thank you for this.
Next person that we're going to be honoring, we have a presenter named Ron Berry. You make your way up to the microphone, sir. And he'll be talking to you about a person that has an impact to all of us, and people are pretty much all aware of it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Ron Berry. I've been a member here for just over 20 years in Our Lady of Consolation. I'm also a member of the Knights of Claver. During that time, featuring a lot of health issues and bringing in people that can help us with health. And I don't know whether it was 7 or 10 years ago that I met the next speaker, the next person I'm going to introduce, and he was very helpful to the men of Our Lady of Consolation. We talked about prostate health, and a lot of people don't know how that can be a killer if you don't address it properly. So I have the pleasure of introducing you to Dr. Jerome Butler. Medical professionalism is his name, and the ethics associated with that is the award that we're presenting to him this evening. And I want to take the time to go through the details of what his background is, because it can be a little complicated, but you need to listen very carefully, because if you are male, or if you have male friends or husbands, this is very important to know what this person does and how important it is. Dr. Butler was born in Washington, D.C., and he grew up in Annapolis. He attended Gonzaga High School, College High School. And then he moved to Winston-Salem to attend Wake Forest University. I didn't realize until I found out his background what a triple deek was. Well, a triple deek is a person that did his undergraduate work, went to med school, did his medical training at Wake Forest. He has a residency in radiation oncology. And so he attended St. Benedict the Moor while at Wake Forest, Winston-Salem, and served as a lecturer. They have 2 children, and he has a lovely wife, Dr. Kimmery Gilbert, for 21 years, and his son, his name is Jerome III, and his daughter is Savannah. The thing that he taught us when he lectured us on prostate health is because there are guidelines that you use to check the status of your health in your prostate, which can become cancerous. And to boil it all down, the point he made to us is all those studies, all those analyses, all of those statistics are mostly oriented toward the statistics for white people. The studies that they do, for the most part, are on the other side of the other race. And so, so he educated us on that. Dr. Butler joined the Southeast Radiation Oncology Group. CIRO is the name it goes by around here. He joined them in 2008. It's the largest independently owned radiation oncology group in the United States. And he's the only black partner and owner in the group. Since joining CIRO, he has served in many roles. He currently is a member of the executive committee, serving as secretary, the physician lead for the advanced practice, and the physician lead for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a phrase that's starting to, people are trying to sweep away. He is the chair of the Manpower Committee and serves as the Finance Committee as assistant treasurer. He was medical director for radiation oncology at Northeast Atrium in Concord, and for 7 years, and he provides, he has been the oncology service line director for Paramount Health in Gastonia, Lankenton, and soon to be the new Caramount Hospital in Belmont. He's responsible for overseeing all aspects of medical oncology, radiation oncology, surgical oncology, pulmonary GI, and pathology. He has been president of the Cancer Services of Gaston County for 4 years, an organization that offers resources and support for cancer patients and their caregivers. Over the last 2 years, Dr. Butler and Cancer Services has raised over $600,000 for cancer patients and supportive care. And then we have down here, which is kind of amusing, in his free time. Dr. Butler enjoys traveling with his family, water sports, and athletic events. He's just been named by the Castle Connolly, and Castle Connolly, maybe Dr. Butler can explain this a little clearer, but Castle Connolly is a consulting structure that kind of acknowledges elite doctors. And they, as of 2024, he is a top doctor in radiology, oncology. This past month is recognized by Castle Connolly, which is a big deal. So without any further ado, Dr. Butler.
Thank you, Ron. Ron failed to tell me that he wanted me to speak and say anything, so I'm sitting here like, oh no. But first I want to say again, thank you for this great recognition, and I just love hearing the stories of our other honorees. This is amazing. I could sit here for hours. Just can we repeat this and hear more and more, because I think what we're hearing is, again, history. And history, as we know, for a long time has been an oratorical it's a history that's been passed down by speech and by not always written word. So we don't always hear it, we always don't know it. And I live in Belmont, and I've lived in Belmont since 2008, so I'm learning a lot about Belmont right now, and my kids, my family are here, and this is just a great night to hear this. I tell you one thing, listening to Ron and what Ron stated, he was paying attention. So when we actually did that prostate cancer symposium, probably close to 10 years ago, I think he heard what was really important, and I think really important about all medicine today. So I'm a radiation oncologist. When you think about oncology, there are three main parts of oncology. There's surgical oncologists that cut the cancer out. There's medical oncologists, which a lot of people are familiar with. They unfortunately have to give chemotherapy. And then there's radiation oncologists, physicians that use radiation to treat cancer along with the other two disciplines. So I'm the radiation guy. And unfortunately, about 60 or 70% of most patients with solid tumors will need radiation at some time. We're in 2024, and you would think that as we've come along that, medicine would be pretty much equal for everybody. And as you guys know, this is a smart crowd, it's not. And so, if I have to lead kind of with a parting message, I think that you really, really have to advocate for yourself, okay? Unfortunately, in 2024, you have to advocate even more than you had to do probably 10, 15 years ago. Rules have changed, guidelines have changed. We heard the word guidelines earlier. And again, for cost-saving measures, there have been a lot of different studies done, especially if we talk about the prostate cancer world in men, trying to figure out if we have to do that PSA, what that PSA means, and how do we apply it to the treatment of men with prostate cancer. And we've unfortunately learned that actually that application doesn't necessarily apply to African American men. Our mortality rate is about 2 times higher than African American men. So one of the things that when I speak to a lot of groups, I tell them, hey, get your PSA, get that biopsy, and then really talk about your options and make sure that you see someone that's advocating for you, but also advocate for yourself. And that goes along the line of women with breast cancer, pap smears, but just again, making sure that you take care of your health. We spend a lot of our time in our life, in our careers, trying to build wealth, but what good is wealth without health? okay? So if we don't have good health, that wealth is not very important. And so it's going to be very important that we actually spend as much time with our health as we do trying to build wealth. And if we have them both in great harmony, then we are definitely truly a wealthy man, especially if we have God first also. So again, this has been just a great privilege being honored for this award. Thank you for thinking about me and actually allowing me to kind of share with you this evening. It's a privilege, and please again take care of the one most important thing that you can have, and that's your health. Thank you.
All right, get ready for Willie Walker and the Consolation piece, so be ready. All right, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna give this award out before the band comes out. If Mr. Rose could stand up for me. Stand up. He got our Faith in Action Award this year, okay? This award is recognizing people in our church that have for decades, he doesn't look that old, but have done tremendous work. So, if you can come up here and get this award, sir. We had 3 families get recognized. And we're going to have our own committee. And we think great things too. Go, sir. Mr. Peterson, who I don't think is here right now, their family's been doing tremendous work in the community, but I would like to recognize him and his family with Faith in Action. So I did tell Ms. Key and Mr. Key, this is your award for all the hard work you do for Our Lady of Consolation, Faith in Action. We're going to give it to you, Mr. Key. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to wrap this up. As you can tell, as I said before, it's a pretty much closed award show for a reason. Next year, it's not going to be that way. We are going to be partnering with other groups as far as ticket sales and bringing them in, and it won't be held in such a small environment. This is really a place of worship until we get our church fixed. So we have to condense the numbers to where we can have awards. We only are allowed really 160 people in here. And you don't want to have 160 people in here when you got to have church Sunday morning. So this is why it's done this way. So, because this is where we worship at until we get our church filled. With that said, the nights we'll be doing more work in the community. We have a silent auction. Please check that out while you're getting your groove on. All right? We also, if you'd like to give us a donation, we have a square up there. This is really for our capital campaign. I'm going to have Keith come up. Well, I'm going to say I'm to Keith right now. Keith, you can come up and talk about the capital campaign, why we're doing this, so we can bring attention to where we are with the capital campaign. And then after that, Mr. Cooper will come up and talk about the Men's Health Conference that's coming up in September. So Mr. Keith, if you can come up, after we do this, I'm going to go talk to the band. We finna get down. We gonna eat, we gonna drink, and Mr. Johnson, what did I tell you? You among family now. We cry with you. You know that. But we're gonna pardon you tonight. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, all. Good evening. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. My name is Keith Anderson, and I represent a member of Knights of Claver, also a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And so I come to you, though, today as the chairperson for Lady of Consolation's capital campaign. As some of you may or may not know, we've been talking a lot about history and historical things. Lady of Consolation had years ago had a school. It became one of the few private educations for black folks that they could get here in Charlotte. The building still stands today, and there was many graduates over the decades who graduated from that school, and it was not only attended by Catholics, but non-Catholics as well, made up the membership of that school because people realized there was an opportunity because there wasn't the school system. Public schools didn't provide as many opportunities. So this is an elementary school, 12,000 square feet and 10 different classrooms. And it provided a quality education to folks who lived in and around this neighborhood. And there's still a demand for quality education opportunities. So what the capital campaign is trying to do is to restore the building so that it becomes another source. So let me clarify. The school closed down several years ago, and so now the objective is to do is to restore that school. We have a $2 million campaign that's intended to refurbish the school from top to bottom. It will be new roofs, new windows, new doors, new electrical, and it will provide a resource that we hope to return to the community, not only to the members of the church, but also to the community at large as well, because it should be a community resource for all folks in and around this area. There's a need for what we will provide for is to allow for us to have STEM education opportunities for youth and upskill technical training for adults. Any other opportunities we may be able to provide those opportunities with this new building. So we're looking forward to doing it. We're on our way. It's a $2 million campaign. We've raised over $1 million towards that goal already. And so we're looking for folks who can still are interested in supporting that goal, and they can do that in a number of ways. They can find that information, more information about it on the church website, which is ourladyofconsolation.org, and from there they can, there's a capital campaign, you can click on that, you can make electronic donations from there. Or you can see me or contact the church office here at Our Lady of Consolation. They'll help you and assist you with that as well. But we want to thank you for being here. The proceeds from this event will help our capital campaign. So you're contributing and by being here, you're already contributing to the future. And so we want to restore what was part of our history in Charlotte and make something available for the future of Charlotte as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. Y'all be better than that. Now come on, good evening. All right. We're not many in number, but let's be boisterous and happy tonight. Mr. Marsh was up here earlier, and he spent a mention about a men's health symposium that we're going to be sponsoring here at Our Lady of Consolation. That symposium will be September 21st here in the Family Life Center. And as Dr. Butler said, and I want y'all to listen to me carefully. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. 100% cancer-free. And one thing that's not good about the black community sometimes, we don't like to share when we're sick or when something's wrong with us. We need to be advocating for each other. This symposium month of September, because that's prostate cancer month. But we're going to be looking at other issues that affect black men. And I want to encourage all the women in the room, your sons, your husbands, your significant others, your uncles, encourage them to get checked out. I was fortunate. I was real fortunate. And you will be surprised, and Dr. Butler will tell you, of the men, black men, that you know that has or had prostate cancer, but they won't share it because they're embarrassed. I'd rather be embarrassed and alive than unembarrassed. So when we sponsor this conference, we're going to reach out to the Charlotte community, to other churches, Protestant churches, so you will hear about it. So take this, for those who are present, as an open invitation to be here September 21st. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Buck has already committed to be one of our speakers. Thank you very much. I hope to see you on the I don't know where Ed is.
Yeah, briefly. Mr. Walker's finna set up, finna get down. We also have a 50-50. Everybody knows how that works. All right, so we start off $5 to $6. And we go ahead and get the bucket ready. So we want to start doing 50-50 while we dance, eat, have a good time. And then we're gonna wrap this thing up. And thank you for coming. We do have a liquor license ready, so make sure you donate. We have silent auction. All right. So as they get ready, we're gonna get started. And the 50-50 will be, I'll have it probably up here. And someone will collect $1 if you're a chicken. Matter of fact, it'll be up in the front. I'm sorry, up in the front while we're getting down, having a good time. It'll be up in the front.